for drivers like Duke Nayland. As some of you may know, this marks the 60th anniversary of the founding of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum by Mr. Tony Holman. Currently, we are also marking our 40th anniversary of the opening of this building that's right behind you. And again, we are extremely excited about commemorating this extraordinary historic place with us unveiling. When we think about philanthropic, we typically think of financial gifts. But as we see here today, philanthropic comes in a variety of ways. The beautiful object we are about to unveil is just a few moments, really, in one of those gifts that will have a lasting impact on our visitors. Just think of all the photos that the fans and families in the years to come will see as the centerpiece here in front of the museum. Gifts to the museum often have interesting histories and how they become gifts. This one is no exception. We also have 3 individuals here who have seen the sculpture on trips to Bedford, Indiana over the years that eventually have a home at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Collectively, individuals have contacted the Evans family to make this, have contacted the Evans family and the Speedway leadership to encourage them to make this gift happen. We'd like to introduce those 3 gentlemen that are here today and thank them for all their hard work behind the scenes. Mr. Dennis Boone.
Dennis.
Mr. Mike Smith. And Mr. Glenn Timmons. These 3 gentlemen did years of work with the Evans family and with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to make this happen today. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Donald Davidson, the IMS historian, and he's going to say a few things about the Novi and Duke Nayland.
Okay, thank you, Alan. They told me 5 minutes. Seriously? The Novi, Duke Nayland, 5 minutes?
5 minutes?
All right, anyway, as I'm looking around here at this wonderful tournament, I know we got a break with the weather.
Yeah.
I don't know why this just hit me before I came up, but apparently there was a discussion many years ago amongst people that were in sports management, and they were talking about who was the most sports-minded athlete that they'd ever encountered, and a bunch of names came up, and somebody said, I can tell them all, Sonia Henne, the skater. She could do 32 pirouettes and count the house while she was doing it. So, with that in mind, I mean, this has got to be about 250 people. And I've been to a lot of events in the last couple of months talking about the 50th, and we would have loved to have had a crowd this big. Anyway, I've already used up two minutes of my 3. But the Novi in the late 40s, early 50s, and a little bit later, but starting at that time, probably had as large a following as any of the drivers. And Ralph Hepburn just amazed everybody by breaking the track record by 3 miles an hour in qualifying in 1946. And then Cliff Bergier was on the front row in 47. Hepburn was to lose his life in 1948. And that happened shortly after Cliff Bergier had stepped out of the Novi to say that it was dangerous. And so the team was sort of faced with this situation where, what are we going to do now? The cars are getting a bad rap and nobody wants to drive it. And Dennis Nayland came forward and said, let me have a try. And he basically took a terrible situation and made it into a positive. Duke was the fastest qualifier, wasn't on the first day, and he ended up 3rd, and that was to remain as the highest finisher ever by a Novi, and that might have been a win, except for the fact that he was planning on one pit stop and had to make a second because of variation in the fuel, and I would like to explain that, but I don't have time in my 5 minutes that I've been allotted. But then in 49, he won the pole. and was involved in an early accident and suffered burns and made an amazing recovery, came back in 50. The Novice did not qualify, and so once again it was the lowest of the low. And then in 1951, a huge comeback story, and Duke Nayland was on the pole again. So they went for a few more years before they went to rear drive cars, and Duke was out of it. But anyway, the Novi, I think, and Duke Nayland, who was a wonderful gentleman, who deserves a lot more credit in the great drivers that ever ran here and the great personalities and the people that made it happen. Duke Nayland is kind of a forgotten man, but he was such a wonderful role model to men and women and kids, that he was such a gentleman, a big, tall, imposing man, but a gentleman. And he did so much for the sport. And the real one's in the museum, but this is outside, and so people that don't even go in the museum now will be able to see the Duke Nayland Novi. And I think we're very, very grateful indeed to the Evans family for making this happen. I wasn't sure that it would be, that there would be, to get through all the red tape to get it done, but it's done, and we'll see it shortly after I stop talking. But I want to thank the members of the family, I mean especially Pat Nayland, who I've known since he was 10 years old. And Duke, or Pat, your dad would be so proud of this. I can't imagine. He's got to be here, but if he was, wouldn't this be great if he could be here to cheer us? Anyway, thank you everybody for coming out on this lovely sunny day.
I think that was a record for Donald.
Yeah, pretty good.
We'd like to ask Patrick Nayland to come up and say a few words.
Ellen just told me we're ahead of schedule, so I'm going to take all my 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is this Tony Holman weather or what?
There you go.
Those of you that remember that, right? Earlier in the week, a lot of us were talking about this, and we thought, boy, what's Plan B? But we got Plan A right now. This is just the best. What a great way to start the best month of the year. For all of us race fans, May is, certainly so special, and this unveiling here today makes it just even more so. Indianapolis Motor Speedway has always been, as it probably is to a lot of you, hallowed ground, and now this tribute to the Novi is going to make it even more so. I have got to, and I've met a couple of them already, and I mean, we just can't say it enough. But thank you so much to the Evans family. I mean, without them, give them a round of applause. Crafting this replica of this car, I've never seen this car. I've seen pictures of it. They said, Patrick, why don't you go down and go to Bedford and visit them and see the car? No, I don't want to. I want to do it when we unveil it and make it really special. Certainly had to be a labor of love. The detail in this thing from the pictures that I've seen is just amazing. And one of the things you might have heard of the story is that Dad had seen this. Dad was still alive when they built this, and they'd taken it up to Winchester for an old-timers reunion, and he was standing there, and they took a picture of him. Dad wanted this as his headstone. True story. But what a better place for it to be than right here by the museum. So Nayland the Novi leads again at Indianapolis, leads all these great race fans back into the museum, back into this Temple of Speed here at 16th Street in Georgetown that we all love so much. I've got to thank Ellen. Ellen, thank you so much for making this happen. Thank you. No, I've got about 3 minutes. I can talk. I am a trained professional. And Betsy. Betsy Smith, thank you for making this all happen. Ellen's been here how many years? 20, 25? And she's only 30 years old. Yeah. Been around a long time. Betsy came here about 1.5 years ago, and we had a meeting for us to, get together with her and talk. And there's some challenges here with the museum, and they've done a great job. And there's a lot of new things coming up too that's very exciting for us. And I got Betsy off to the side and I said, one great thing is, Betsy, is that everybody that works here bleeds the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I mean, it's like having methanol in their veins. From the grounds tour guys to all the managers to the people in the gift shops to everybody that I get to work here on the weekends, and it's a privilege to work with all you people. So thank you all very much for all the people that I work with here. I've got notes, but you know what? I'm just gonna put them away. I'm gonna wing it. Towards the end of Dad's life, we met with him, and we went over here to Speedway and had breakfast. And Dad was having a hard time. If he would say, I'm running out of steam, running a little low on steam. We had breakfast. He couldn't keep much breakfast down, and afterwards we said, "Where do you want to go, Dad?" And here's a guy that he was a big man, and he'd lost a lot of weight, and he was very ill, and was on dialysis 3 times a week. And he says, "I want to go to the museum, son." Really? You should be home or resting, or maybe in the hospital even. No, I want to go to the museum. He comes over to the museum. We get there about noon. Walks in. There's a lot of people here because the Formula One had a lot of folks in there, and sits in there. And more people came over and recognized him. They were taking pictures with him, signing autographs, telling stories. And those of you that know him or that knew him, he always had that little twinkle in his eye. I know you knew. I know you knew. I know all of us family members knew when he's telling all these stories and just reliving the old time. He stayed here till 6 o'clock when they had to throw him out because they had so many people here for him. So he was, let me grab this real quick. So the next February, Dad was gone. But due to the good graces of this great place, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it's a rarity, they opened up the gates and we took one more lap with Dad, and this time in the back of a hearse. So, and thank you again so much for the Speedway. One of the things why Dad was so popular was that he drove that Novi car. And I'll tell you, a lot of power, pretty deadly, as Donald said. But man, that sound. I don't know how many people I've told or I've heard that have told me, Patrick, every time that I heard that Novi, I knew it was on the track. And after getting to drive one a couple of years ago, I can tell you, man, they're spectacular. It's a spectacular car. The other thing was that Dad understood that all you race fans were his boss. No race fans, there wasn't going to be any racing. There wasn't going to be any of that. And he treated everyone so well with that. So he actually just loved this place. And of course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He knew that this place made his career. Now, he didn't win. Sat on the pole a couple times, drove the pace car a couple times, ran third, always ran competitively, had drive a lot of good race cars. But he knew that this place made his career. You go out there and you ask some of today's drivers or former champions, ask Frank Keating, ask Tony Kanaan, ask A.J. Foyt, especially A.J. Foyt, who made their career. What do you think that answer is? Right here at the Speedway. So Dad certainly knew that. Dad would be so grateful, be so honored to be here. That plaque down there that the Evans family made special for this says Novi Special. Special car, special day. Made even more special by all of you taking some time out of your Sunday to join us. Somebody earlier in the week said, how many people do you think you're going to have? I said, if the weather's bad, about 50, but on a good day, about 100. Man, thank you. Thank you for all the Nayland family, for my brother, for my immediate family, for my mom, my dad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Patrick. We'd like now to bring up somebody from the Evans family, Samar. Mr. Samar, would you like to come up?
Thank you. Thank you to the Nayland family. Thank you to everyone that's here. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone here, and I know that Eddie's here. Just like the Duke is here. And if you knew Eddie, he'd be rolling here in his either his checkered racing hat or a limestone hat. And he would be coming in here enjoying every minute of it, and we'll talk to every one of you guys for hours about racing. He would hate this. He would not want me to talk about Eddie. He would want to talk about the car and the people who got him running and made him come alive. He would not want me to talk about Eddie at all. He would want to talk about the tradition of racing in limestone and how fitting it is that we're honoring him in the 100th racing, the 100th running of the Indy 500. Eddie was a fan and turned us all into fans. May was special. Well, in reality, when the race was over, the preparation for the next year started. So it was always special to talk about racing in Limestone. And we'd get ready for it. The seats in his paddock press right there for years. We had to come early. If you left at 5 in the morning from Bedford, it was too late. You had to get here. You'd come early, see all the activities from back home again in Indiana to the start your engine commands to how many seconds it took to do the pit stops, the pit crews, who was doing what. He knew it all. He wanted to talk about it, and he never got tired talking about racing. Eddie was a visionary. His name and knowledge of limestone industry is legendary. In addition to this piece of art, Architecture Stone Sales, the company that he founded, has projects and work all over the world. Today you can find his work in major projects in our nation's capital, national cathedrals, universities, government buildings, even on the White House. The Novi was started in early 90s and finished in 94. The carvers were his son John Evans and Matt Bruce, two of the best in the industry. And Eddie one day showed up and told them, boys, there's a Novi hidden in that block of stone. Go find it.
There you go.
And of course, about 3.5 years later, we'll see what we're about to see right now, which is a tremendous work that we're so proud of Eddie starting. And of course, Eddie had a vast collection of race cars that he kept in his museum that he started after he retired in the Antique Race Car Museum. And one thing that we still hear about people visiting, that they would say that they went there and there was this guy that owned it, and he would just get us in there, let us sit in the cars, talk about it, and never got tired of enjoying his passion. And of course, Eddie was a fan of racing, and he made all of his fans of racing. On behalf of the Evans family, I want to thank all of you guys for this fantastic occasion, but we especially want to thank Dennis Boone. Dennis, thank you.
Hey.
And Glenn Tennis. Yep. They were instrumental in, as they say, kickstart this and put it in first gear and get this thing going, which is a fantastic project. We want to thank Doug Bowles, president of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Jim Smith, Ellen Byerly. Ellen, thank you. Betsy Smith for the hard work, communication, engagement, and wonderful friendship. Also want to thank Mike Smith for his updates, communication, and making us feel like we're a family. Eddie always said it's not just the car. It's the driver behind the wheel. With that, we want to honor the Nayland family. Dennis Duke Nayland is the driver who, as we all heard, managed to tame the beast. We honor him and his family, and we love that they're here sharing in this excitement and joy. Finally, we want to thank Eddie. Thank him for his vision, all the memories, and making us feel like lifelong fans of Indianapolis Motor Speedway and its traditions. Eddie, thank you. Thank you for your checkered hats and checkered flags. Thank you for turning this block of stone into what we're about to see, the Novi. Thank you. I know you're there, and I know you're watching. We miss you.
Okay, we have one more thing. Patrick has one more thing he'd like to say.
Savannah, come up here. This is one of my beautiful granddaughters. I've got Savannah, who also will respond to the term driver. I don't know where she gets that. Shelby's over there somewhere, so what do you name her but Cobra, right? And then there's little Shayla Faye, who is strawberry lemonade, so I don't know what happened there. I really don't. But anyway, so, you know, one of the things that actually served as probably a badge of honor, I guess I would say, back in the day was Champion Sparkplug was a huge sponsor here. And for years, they sponsored and they had a program that if you averaged over 100 miles an hour, which was a big deal in the Indianapolis 500, that you got a jacket. Well, here's how the story goes. Back when I was 3 years old, we had moved to Atlanta. We put everything in storage, everything pretty much but the clothes on our back and a few other items. Unfortunately, the storage burnt down. Everything was gone. So we had very few things from my dad. A couple years ago, a very good friend of mine, and he's here today. I won't divulge who it was, but he called me. He says, "Patrick, I got something for you." Okay. He says, "Well, meet me." He says, "I'll show it to you." Savannah, what's in that bag? These were the jackets that Champion Sparkplug gave out to the drivers that averaged over 100 miles an hour. And the good thing is, it's not just one of those jackets. It's Dad's jacket. The guy found it at a garage sale, and he said, "There's probably somebody at the Speedway who would want this." So, with the approval of the Speedway and the approval of the Evans family, after we unveil it, I'm going to lay it in the cockpit and let Dad know he's here. Thank you.
Patrick, if we can have, we'd like to have Patrick and Betsy Smith. If we can have you three come over here and unveil the Novi limestone.
Grab the tarp and walk this way.
Isn't this spectacular? Well, this concludes our portion here. You guys are welcome to come up and take photographs. We would like right now the Evans family and the Nalon family to head down to our buses. Okay. Hold on just a second.
So, Nalon family first, and I have one.
All right, we're going to do the Nalon family here first with a photo op, so all the Nalon family members, please come up.